Bjergsen's retired, man. It's
okay. Let's dissect it from the Bjergsen point of view and then from the TSM point of view. For Bjergsen's point of view, he's had an illustrious career. He's had a successful career in the LCS. He's won multiple domestic titles. He didn't necessarily have the success at Worlds, but he has made several Worlds appearances. What will Bjergsen's legacy be?
His legacy will be the greatest LCS mid laner of all time. One of, if not the greatest LCS player of all time. A person who came here as a anxiety-ridden kid, lanky, not confident, excellent player, quiet, shy, reserved, who was given and forced to take on this mantle of a juggernaut, this behemoth, these millions and millions of fans wanting TSM to succeed on this poor kid's shoulders. And over the last 7 years, we've watched him grow into a man, a confident, brilliant, respected by all man, who is one of the best players I've ever interviewed, one of the best guys I've met in esports. Just everyone loves him. Everyone respects him. He is really, overcome those anxiety-ridden days, those days in Denmark, and he's really grown and blossomed into one of the premier faces in all of esports. He is a legend. He is a great, great player, maybe even a better person. And I wish he didn't go out 0-6. I wish he didn't go out 0-6, Art. We were talking about it, and I was like, I want to see Bjergsen with that killer instinct this tournament. I want to see him come out and have the tournament to remember. I want him to have that tournament where even if it goes to 3-3 and they don't make it out of groups, or they make it quarterfinals and get 3-0'd by Damwon. I want him to have a tournament to be proud of, and for that to be his landmark world championship, that international performance people can remember him by after all the great domestic performances. And it didn't happen. And just like Dyrus in 2015, when he retired after losing to LGD in the group stages of Worlds, I guess LGD is now the official curse of TSM players, of TSM legends when it comes to Worlds. TSM should never want to see LGD again ever in any group stage, because anytime you play them, one of your legends is going to retire. So it's hard, man. It hits hard. Like he's truly one of the landmark players of a region. And when we talk about all the import players and how a lot of these players come in for the quick paycheck and they come here to get a quick buck, or they make fun of North America, or they don't appreciate or kind of, assimilate to the culture. It's like Bjergsen's none of that. He is a guy who's come here since day one and worked his ass off. And he's gone from that kid who had the entire world thrown onto his shoulders to now being an owner of one of the biggest esports organizations, and he's going to be a millionaire hopefully all his life. And I understand the decision. I think he's going to be a great coach. He's a very even keel fellow. I think he's smart. He's intelligent enough to do it. Free agency is going to be crazy, Arda. Free agency is going to be a madhouse. I don't even know what's happening anymore. Who knows what's going on? Who the hell knows?
When you look back on Bjergsen's career, what accomplishment or what year? Those are two separate questions, but let's address them both. Let's start with accomplishment. Which LCS title do you think was the sweetest for Bjergsen and TSM? For a Bjergsen-led TSM team?
I think, if I think back on it, again, we did not prepare for a Bjergsen retirement segment on this show. This was really out of nowhere. I think the sweetest victory probably was 2016 summer versus C9 in Toronto. 3-1, beating your rivals. That was the first year of Doublelift, getting the first title of Doublelift, Hanser, Biofrost, and Skaren. And I remember being in the press conference after they won that title, and I don't think I've really felt this since. That was a team, the 2016 TSM team, that felt like they could win. They were the G2 of today. They were G2 of, we can do this. We can win a world title with me, Doublelift, Hanser, Bio, and Sven. We can win this. We are going to win the Summoners Cup. They were confident, and when they went to Worlds that year in North America, it wasn't just talk. Everyone around them, all the international teams, the Asian, the Korean teams, respected the hell of that TSM squad. They respected Bjergsen as one of the best mid laners at that tournament. They respected the TSM team. They saw TSM as a top 4 favorite. They thought, I talked to a few teams that thought they were, could play SKT in the grand finals at Staples Center. And obviously they did not make it out of groups. They were in a very tough group, and they fell short of expectations. But I think for Sweetest, I think of what he will remember most, I think that 2016 team, because I think back then he really believed that he could win the Summer's Cup. And since then, the 2018, 2019, 2020 team, even as number 1 NA seed, I think he went into Worlds wanting to do damage, but I don't think he thought he could win Worlds like he did back in 2016, 2017, in that era, that golden era of the Biofrost double lift Bjergsen squad.
Was that the same? Is that the same answer for when Bjerg was at his best? Like, if you were to pinpoint whether it's a moment, a month, a year, that Bjergsen was at his absolute peak, he was the unbeatable Bjerg in mid lane. Where in the timeline would that be, in your opinion?
I think it would be that Bjergsen double lift team of the summer of 2016. They were untouchable pretty much. They made a joke of the league. After losing to Stixay and CLG the prior season, they buckled down. They did the damn one thing of saying we were going to take our embarrassment and fuel it into our hunger, and they just ran roughshod. And that was the peak of Bjergsen's powers. That was when, I remember in interviews I would talk to Faker and I would ask, what do you think about Bjergsen? And Faker would be like, oh yeah, they say he's the Western me. I really respect him. I want to play him. I see him as a player that I want to see at my level. That was the levy, the standard Bjergsen was back in 2016 and 2017. Obviously, those 2 world losses back-to-back years really dampened his legacy in the international stage and in TSM as a whole. But that was the year, that was the moment where everyone looked at Bjergsen and said, he's on the very similar to Caps, where he was like, he's on the cusp of being maybe the first Westerner to hold the Summer's Cup, to hoist it, to raise it high as a world champion. Obviously, TSM failed, and now 2019, 2020, we are talking about G2 and how they got farther, way farther than either. They went far past what TSM did back in 2016, 2017. They did not choke. They did not, play below expectations, but that team, that kind of 2016, 2017 Bjergsen, especially the end of 2016, I think that was his peak.
How long do you think Bjergsen had been thinking about this? Like, when we talked about this a week ago on the show, okay? We sort of hypothesized that maybe Bjergsen is thinking about this. We didn't necessarily say Bjergsen should retire. We definitely didn't say that. But I did say it's definitely in his mind. And now I'm starting to, as we talk about this, I'm starting to wonder when Bjergsen actually began to think about the prospect of retirement. And I wonder if the very first time he thought about it was when he received his new contract that included equity in the company. I'm not saying that he was making a plan to retire. I would get, if I was putting myself in Bjergsen's shoes, Tyler, and I was negotiating a contract, and then I realized that I'm receiving equity in a company, the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, I'm with this company for life because now I'm a co-owner. I am going to be black and white TSM for the rest of my life, and I will transition into something. So at that point, I'm starting to think, what do I want to do? And obviously, Bjergsen was thinking coaching at some point in time, right? Or it seems as though that was the case. So there, I would guess that he just started to visualize it, not necessarily will for it to happen, but more so, okay, what could I do after I'm done? Not that I'm done yet, but what could I do? I could coach, I could manage, I could be part of the marketing department, I could, be an executive, I could do whatever I want. But what would I enjoy doing after my playing career is over? And you and I both know, you've interviewed him countless times in the past. I had a chance to speak with him a couple times this split, and he's a very well-spoken guy. He's a very introspective guy. He's also a very honest guy. One of the things that struck me was when I was speaking with him after they won the championship, or in the summer split, he had a little bit of concern. Actually, sorry, it was before that, when they had qualified for Worlds. he actually had a little bit of concern traveling to Shanghai. He's like, I have a severe case of asthma. I have to actually ask some doctors and wonder if I should go to Shanghai, because this could be a health concern. So long as it's safe for me to do so, I will travel to Shanghai. And clearly it was, because he was there and he competed. But now, what do you think? Like, how long do you think this has been in his mind? Do you think this was a decision based off of what happened at Worlds, or do you think he's been thinking about this and long-term planning for a while?
Yeah, and I never thought he would retire this year. I thought when we talked about before, I was like, oh, we're the clickbait monsters. We're gonna get some views here. Never thought it would happen, but I think it does start from 2 years ago or a year ago from around this time when he signed with TSM as a co-owner, a long-term deal. When if he hit the open market, he would have drove up his price like mad. He would have garnered a $1.5+ million deal on the open market. He could have maybe got plus $2 million on the open market from an NA or a European team. I mean, he has over 1 million Twitter followers. He is one of the biggest faces in all of esports. He is well-spoken, like you said. He is pretty squeaky clean when it comes to controversy. He's not a player who has a checkered past starter. He's a very clean, squeaky clean brand that you can just put on any sort of jersey and he's going to sell like hotcakes. And man, it's just like, it's a situation where I'd probably believe that this tournament did kind of knock him into the sense of like, I want to go to coaching. I think I would have to believe that he went into this tournament saying this could be my last go around. This was my last rodeo of him wanting to prove himself. I think him wanting to play LeBlanc in a game of a do or die game versus LGD was him saying, let's see if I still have it. Let's see if I can still, be the Bjergsen of old. See if that Superman outfit still fits. If I can carry TSM like the old days, I can put them on my back and carry them to a victory versus an international foe. And it didn't happen. And that killer instinct I wanted to see, that killer instinct that I preached of, like, I want to see Bjergsen with his, with the fangs, with the blood running down his face. I want to see him like Cap, zoned in 24/7, even when, everyone on G2 is laughing at the press conference after losing. And again, nothing against laughing after losing. I laugh after mistakes all the time. It's how you process things. People process things in different ways. But Caps is locked in. He is zoned in. He is still thinking about that loss in his head 24/7. And you want to see Bjergsen have that tournament where he just took over. The takeover. This is the tournament of taking over. And he just didn't. And he went 0-6. And he was one of the worst performing mids of the entire tournament. So it's his legacy is not dampened by the 0-6, I think. I still think he's going to be remembered as one of the all-time best Western players. But he's not going to be remembered as the best, like Caps or Perks, because his legacy never had that international glory to go along with it.